Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. As we all know, Street Fighter V is a game that took a lot of liberties with returning characters from the older games. I think everyone except Ryu, Chun-Li and Zangief got a visual update, and a good portion of these characters got some gameplay redesigns as well. And today I wanted to talk about my favorite redesigns, and I'm taking both factors into account. So some characters say, like Honda, he looks better but he kinda plays the same, so I'm not really gonna consider him that highly in this regard, because I do want to take the gameplay and the visual look in mind. And to be clear, this is just my personal preference, and I'm not talking about tiers, if they are fun to fight or anything like this. I'm just talking about if I do think the redesign is good or not. And with that out of the way, I wanted to have one honorable mention before getting to my top 5, and that honorable mention is Cody. First, let me talk about his visual changes. I love what they did with Cody in regards to his story, as my favorite characters in Street Fighter, as he is in my favorite in Street Fighter, and probably in fighting games honestly. It's him and Zero from the Marvel games. I love what they did to Cody's story. I love that they finally got him out of the bad states that he was in, and they made him a hero again. They made him the mayor of the city, and they gave him like a very clean look. He looks clean, he looks shaved, he's a very smart looking person. I love his music, it's very upbeat, it fits his character arc perfectly. My only issue with Cody comes in terms of the gameplay, and again, I don't hate his new gameplay. His new gameplay is very Final Fight themed. If you played Final Fight at all, you'll see that a lot of his movement, a lot of his normals, and even the pipe and the knife, all of that stuff is homage to Final Fight, and I love that. I just wish that he had his Street Fighter origins there as well. So stuff like his command normals, his tornado upper, and that stuff that I really fell in love with in Street Fighter 4, I wish there was more of that here. So while I love him as a character, he's still my favorite character and probably one of the most fun characters in Street Fighter 5. I just think if there was a bit of a better mix between the Street Fighter version of Cody and the Final Fight version, he could have been, honestly, for me, a little bit better.
I'll kick your ass! Alright, let's begin!
Now let's start our list proper, and the first character I'm going to talk about is Mika. Now Mika didn't get changed that much visually, she just got a slight upgrade. I think the only big thing is they removed the heart on her nipples and gave her the gigantic cleavage. But honestly, outside of that, it's just very small touches to her default costume, which is fine in my opinion. But what made me like Mika in Street Fighter V is what they did to her gameplay and the general aesthetic of her having a tag team partner. I think with L40 in Street Fighter 4, they already had a good, Luca Libre high flyer style character, and with Mika, when they brought her back, giving her a tag team partner was a very smart change. Because think of it, of all the wrestlers in Street Fighter and the other fighting games, which other wrestler actually have a tag partner that actively helps them during the match and is assisting them in their moves and all of that? It just made her stand out so much. To this day, I can't think of other character in a fighting game, a wrestler, who actually have an off-screen tag partner that constantly keeps tagging in and fighting with her. I think that's very cool, and it makes her stand out more. Also, she got some changes to her gameplay. Her normals are mostly intact from the alpha, but they changed the way her command grabs work, how her flying peach work, and if you know anything about Alpha 3, Mika was possibly the worst character in the game. She was a bottom tier character, and you can even say she was a joke character. So gameplay wise and design wise, I think they changed Mika to the better in every way possible.
Can't start the show without Star, right?
And now this one I feel is gonna trigger some people because a lot of people enjoyed Poison in Street Fighter 4, and I do. I consider myself a Poison fan in Street Fighter 4. I actually mained Poison in Street Fighter 4. But allow me to make my case. So first of all, I do think that Street Fighter 4 Poison was a very derivative character. She was a very cut and paste character, and what I mean by that is Street Fighter 4 Poison was basically a Shoto. She had a zoning fireball, a move to beat fireball, her love me tender was basically a Tatsu, and had a DP. She also had a Rekka, but this Rekka wasn't like Fei Long's Rekkas. You're not like moves that you throw out in the neutral. It was just a combo filler that you will do, get the knockdowns and do the slow fireball and stuff like that. And while it was fun to play, it honestly was nothing unique. And that is my point. When it came to Street Fighter 5, what they did was they changed Poison drastically. Visually she didn't get changed that much, but gameplay wise they turned her to a whip user, which is very unique to Street Fighter. Now she's a mid-range zoner with some strong offensive tool. In many ways she reminds me of Ivy from Soul Calibur, which design philosophy wise I think fits her really well, both thematically in the term of the dominatrix way in regards to the character, and also it made her gameplay wise stand very tall along the other character because there's no one like her at the moment. She have a lot of unique things like the whip stance and being able to hold it or attack with it from multiple angles, go low or get the anti-air version, cancel it and all that. Also some very unique things like in V-Trigger 2 where she have a far range command grab, and all stuff that is very unique. Now visually I think Street Fighter 4 version was a lot more expressive. She moved a lot better personally, so I do prefer the Street Fighter 4 version in regards to the visual aesthetic and just the general visual look. I think in Street Fighter 5 the hair probably didn't translate as well to 3D as maybe it did in concept, but Street Fighter 5 version of Poison is still a fairly solid looking character. So with that, she gets number 4 on this list.
It ain't too late to run off to Mom now.
Birdie is one of the characters that went through a dramatic change when making the jump to Street Fighter 5. And personally, I love the change of direction they took with Birdie. In my humble opinion, and this might be controversial, but again, in my opinion, Alpha Verde was just a very, very, very generic looking street thug character. He was just one of the least memorable character in the entire Street Fighter series. And with Street Fighter 5, what they did is they gave him a ton of personality. Instead of just being a random generic looking street thug, they made him fat, and while he's not the only fat character in Street Fighter universe, now at least with how he's animated and how he's behaving, he's instantly have a lot more going for him. He's instantly have a lot more charisma. He looks like someone who is really able to fight but just let himself go. And he also had a lot of changes to his gameplay. They made him a command character instead of charge character. They gave him the dolphin dive, which I believe was a super in the alpha games if I remember correctly, and now they made it a regular move. And overall I felt like they changed him to the better in regards to his gameplay, because he is a lot better now than he used to be in the alpha games, and also they give him a ton more personality. Now you may not like the idea of a fat slob or a character who's like too fat and lazy and all of that, but at least it is a character. Street Fighter Alpha Birdie was just a generic street thug.
Unit 0 activated.
My name is Seth.
Now this is the one that's gonna give me a lot of hate, and that is Seth. Now Seth was the boss of Street Fighter 4, and while I do understand that a lot of people liked Seth in Street Fighter 4, there was also a lot of people who didn't like Seth in Street Fighter 4. He was, to me at least, a very generic looking anime style character. And the idea of the boss having the attacks of everyone, that to me is just like, that screams derivative. And if you don't play this, or if you didn't play this, you most likely hated playing against this. So I think visually he looked lame as shit, and gameplay wise, honestly I hated how Sis played in Street Fighter 4. And I'm sure if you didn't play Sis, you hated how he played in Street Fighter 4. So now with Street Fighter 5, Capcom took a complete 180 with this character. First they turned him into a female, or at least they gave him a female body, I guess I should say they now, and made the character crazy as shit when it comes to personality. Like, they lost their mind basically. And what they also did is they changed the gameplay. So now this is a chameleon style character. He steals moves from his opponent, which at least to me is 25 million times more interesting than a character that have everything. At least that's cool design, because the idea of a glass cannon who literally have every single move, I don't know, I never liked it. That's my personal opinion. But the idea of a character that is able to steal moves, now that's interesting. I never liked Shang Tsung in Mortal Kombat as a character, but I always found him interesting, and that is the point I'm trying to make. Now with this, the moment you see this in Street Fighter 5, you think, wait, why does a male voice coming out of a female body? Wait, is he stealing moves? And that is just instantly a lot more impressive than a generic looking robot dude that does everything. I'm sorry if you don't agree with this one, and I know this one is gonna be controversial and some people is gonna hate it, but I have to say my opinion, and my opinion is Street Fighter 5 Sis is a much better version than Street Fighter 4 Sis. And yes, as we just saw, M. Bison, in my opinion, is the best redesigned character in Street Fighter 5. And allow me to tell you that ever since I was 9 years old, I have always hated Bison. And while in Street Fighter 5 I still hate fighting against Bison, I think that character is finally cool. And the older Bisons, in my opinion, were never cool. Like, the only thing that I ever thought about Bison or the older Bisons was, it was kinda weird to me that a war dictator is fighting hand in hand, like it's fighting in person. That was the only thing that actually was interesting to me about Bison before. But Street Fighter 5 Bison, he looks very menacing, he looks crazy as shit. There's a ton of psycho powers in how he's moving. They changed him from this footsies character, oh I'm walking quickly and doing medium kick and heavy kick, which is fine, but it's not a good fit for a boss character. Now let's look at Street Fighter 5 Bison, and he is just a character that is forever plus on block. He is attacking with no regards, he doesn't give a shit what you're doing, and he's just a badass looking character. Now, even he is balanced as a boss character, like he's always plus. So to me, Bison moved from a very, meh character to a character that is just actively really cool. He looks cool. I love the white hair because it shows you how much the psycho power is kinda destroying his body. And yeah, overall I do think M. Bison in Street Fighter 5 is amazing. Capcom finally made the craziest and best looking Bison they have ever done. And with that, we have reached the end of the video. Please let me know what you thought. Please let me know what you think are the best redesigns. Maybe even what is the worst redesign. But honestly, the worst is kinda easy. We all know Jury is probably the most hated redesign. But that aside, please share, subscribe and comment because it all really helps. And please let me know what you think. And with that, thank you for watching and stay safe.